What's up, everybody? PURARI here. I'm a DJ, producer, artist coach over at PURARI Production Academy, and today I'm here to talk to you guys with DJ.Studio about how to create a radio show. If you are a radio show producer, or if you're a DJ looking to get into a radio show, DJ.Studio is a game-changing software that will save you tons and tons of time. I know it saved a lot of time for me, and I couldn't imagine doing another radio show without DJ.Studio. Whether you're new to radio show making or you're a seasoned veteran like myself, this video will show you all the tips and tricks to save you the most time and get your radio shows done as quickly and fastly as possible while maintaining a professional mix. Today, I'll show you the power of DJ.Studio and how to take your radio show mixes to go from a novice to some of the professional ones that you hear on SiriusXM or your favorite DJ or record label and more. With the new features like stems and AI beat grid matching, you could even take your radio show mixes to the next level, doing things that you previously couldn't do live. Let's walk you through it right now and take a dive into how we do it in DJ.Studio. So right here, I have DJ.Studio open, and previously, there were a couple ways to make a radio mix. The first way was standing behind your decks and recording the mix for an hour. Now, there are a lot of disadvantages to that because if you happen to make a hiccup or you mess up, you have to pause the mix, redo the transition over again, and then you have to enter what we call post-production, where you actually had to splice together all of the mistakes to create one big WAV or MP3 file. Today, time is of the essence, and we don't have all the time in the world to do that, especially if you run a busy studio like myself. So, the next option available would be to do your mix in a DAW. This would be something like Ableton or Logic or Cubase or whatever it was. And there were plenty of good tutorials that had Ableton racks to do the EQing for you and the volume fades. But again, this just took too much time. For maybe a 1 hour mix, I was spending either 2 to 3 hours picking the tracks, lining them up with the grid, and it just took too long for me. And we all know that the biggest part of the radio show is just getting those transitions right. So I spent a lot more time figuring out if the track was on the grid or if this was right or doing all the automations when simply all I just needed was something that streamlined to transition from one track to the other. Now, with the power of DJ.Studio, you can get this done in record time. It saves me a lot of time, and I'm able to deliver professional studio quality mixes fully ready to go for any radio station. So, with that being said, there's a couple things that we have to do before we start this radio show. First thing is, you have to know who your client is and how long your show is going to be. Is it an hour show? Is it a 30-minute guest mix? How long is the radio show going to be, right? And also, is this going to be on a radio station where they require all clean versions of the tracks, right? And that's going to lead me to step number 1, which is planning the mix. Doing the planning is going to be essential for getting this done as fast as possible. Whether it's planning the tracks you're going to need or the versions you're going to need, the planning stage is very important. You also want to take into account what's the mood or energy you plan on bringing. Are you going to mix by BPMs? Do you want to keep things in key? What's the mood and energy you're going to bring? And is there any additional audio that you're going to need in the mix? For example, leaving room over for a voiceover, or perhaps maybe adding some effects or DJ drops. You have to take this into account when you're making your mix. And that's going to lead for maybe longer transition times inside of the transition window. So let's go ahead and start the mix by selecting a couple tracks. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to open up a new mix over here, and I'm going to use some local files. Usually when I'm doing a mix for a client or for myself, I'm given a lot of files already. And you could see right over here, I was given a folder of all of these tracks right here to use in my radio show. Please note that I'm using the clean versions, and you can get clean versions on places such as Digital Music Pool, which is a great record pool, or you can just buy the clean version yourself. These are all extended clean versions, and these are the ones I'm going to use. So it's very easy. You can just import your local files over here. I'm going to go to that folder, and I'm just going to import all of these songs right into DJ.Studio. Now, I did this already, but look how easy it is. and to save us the essence of time, it's going to key label all of them, give us the BPM, and that's going to be a lot of help. So I'm just going to go ahead and select these really quick. So I'm going to come here, add these to my radio show. Excellent. And actually, one of the stations that I make a lot of radio shows for is Pitbull's Globalization on SiriusXM. So let's go look for Pitbull in my library, and maybe we could add a couple more Pitbull tracks. Maybe something like To the Moon. Maybe I'll add this one too. Why not? And then I'll add these tracks to my mix. Great. So now my tracks are in the mix. The second step is going to be organizing these tracks and what order you want to see them in the mix. I'm going to go over here to the playlist tab, click on this, and you're going to see that we have a lot of tracks in here, and they're pretty much ranging from all different BPMs. And I think personally it's going to sound a little unnatural if we go from a track from 120 to 130 to 128. It just may sound a little bit too much. So I want to keep the energy flowing constantly. As we go down the mix, we're going to increase BPMs. So one thing that I like to do, a quick tip with DJ.Studio, is I'm going to scroll down and find my fastest track, which in my case is this Rattle Remix, or maybe this one right here, the Gangster's Paradise. And these two tracks are at 145 BPM, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the auto mix, and I'm going to make sure that I lock my last track. I'm also going to lock one of my slower tracks, which is the Hugel and Diplo Forever, because I want to start the mix slower and build the energy as I go on. So for me, BPM is going to be a little bit more important for key on this. And I do want to set the mood or the auto mix mode to either mood or fuzzy. The difference between the two is that mood mixing looks at harmonic matches and overlapping notes and at any interesting key changes that may favorably affect the overall energy of your mix, while fuzzy mixing always prioritizes mixes that are likely going to work harmonically, and it prevents you from going off tone when mixing two songs where notes are overlapping, but ignores non-harmonically matched transitions that may have a positive effect on mood. This is a great option for when you wish to order your tracks in a sequence with as few key clashes as possible for a mixtape or radio show. And because I'm doing a radio show, I don't really need to be dependent on a key matched track, because I'm mostly going to be mixing intro and outros, which are drum beats. In this case, I'm going to switch to the fuzzy algorithm. And because my first two tracks are locked and I hit auto mix, DJ.Studio is going to find millions of combinations that it thinks it's going to be best for our mix, and let's see what it spits out. 250 million mix combinations, and as you can see, if you look at the tempo changes here, it looks very, very steady. Now, a jump from 131 to 140 is going to seem a little drastic, but it's going to stay 140, 145 throughout. So for me, this is the best option for this mix. So now, let's go ahead and head into the Studio tab, and let's start doing this mix. We're in the Studio tab, and step 4 of our radio show is going to be creating transitions. And this is the main thing you want to focus on when you are doing that. Now, the reason why I want to focus on these transitions is after I choose the order, I need to build this mix and decide where I want to transition out of. Ideally, you want to transition out of intro and outros to make sure that the mix is as smooth as possible, while also keeping the time in mind to stay under that hour time frame that we're looking at. So we want to make sure that the transitions flow constantly without any awkwardness. And a lot of this seamlessness can come from how well you prepare the tracks, but also the great built-in presets that we get in DJ.Studio. And for me, I think the best preset, in my humble opinion for this, is going to be the simple bass swap, where either 4 or 8 or 16 bars in, the track will fade in the next track, the bass will swap, and the next track will come in. In my opinion, this is the best for radio shows. So let's go ahead and start this mix. We're going to leave this first intro open, as you can see. We're going to leave this completely clean, because this is going to be a great way to introduce the radio show, have a quick conversation, and do anything. So the way I like to add voiceovers for my radio shows is I just want to go over here to the settings and just make sure that you guys go to the interface tab and have voiceover lane on. And what's cool about this is it's going to sidechain the music playing from wherever, and lower the volume of that every time my voice happens. So now that I have this voiceover lane, I could come over here and I can now just import a sample. So I'm going to hit add, I'm going to go to acapella or vocals. Let's come over here to vocals. I'll hit add, select files. I'm just going to go get that DJ.Studio voiceover. I'm going to import it into this mix only. It's going to import it. And I'm just going to drag that now into the voiceover lane. Now that the voiceover is in, I just want to edit this sample. So I'm going to hit these little three dots, and I don't want to quantize it because it's obviously not going to be any tempo-oriented thing. So I just want to have that there. So now when I play my voiceover, it's going to sound like this. What's up, everybody? PURARI here, and today we have a brand new show right here. However, I could probably use a little bit more gain on this. So I'm just going to come over here to the effects. I'm going to take my sample 3 volume, raise that up, add a bit of compression, and maybe make sure you follow me on social media at PURARI DJ, and stay tuned for all the brand new updates. That sounds pretty good. And that's kind of the reason why I like to keep the intros pretty open. But now let's focus on these transitions, shall we? So the next transition that I want to work on is the one in between right here, deck 1 and deck 2, between Hugel and the Armin van Buuren track. So I'm just going to scroll in, and this is where all of the magic happens right here in the transition window. Now, I just want to find where the outro starts on the Hugel track, and I want to move my transition window where it needs to be. So I'm going to play. And it looks like right here at bar 141 is where this transition should start. So I'm going to come over here, pop the transition window to start right here, and I just want to extend this to an 8-bar transition. So I'm going to come all the way back to the transition tab and hit 8. And as you can see, this is just going to extend my transition. And I want to take the second track, deck 2, and just bring it to bar 33 so that when this transition starts, it's going to end right here on the Hugel track, but start at bar 33 on the Armin van Buuren track, which is going to be our first verse. So let's check this out. And just like that, DJ.Studio just saved me hours of time by doing this so flawlessly and so professionally. When it comes to radio shows, you want to make sure that these transitions are as flawless and as seamless as possible, especially because we're not here to show off our DJ skills, but more so to create a flawless, seamless mix that is going to translate well on radio. Even if you did this transition live, it would take years of skills and practice to align the beats right and get your DJ skills perfect enough so that you can do this every single time. You'd also have to set cue points to know where exactly you need to play both songs at what times in order to do this. But with DJ.Studio, we can align it perfectly and get the best result every single time. Let's hop into the next transition and do the same thing. I'm going to press Command and forward just to hop into the next transition, and you're going to see it's already hopping us over to the next transition window, ready to go. So let's do this transition the same way as we just did, and look how fast this is going to be. So bar 129 is where I'm going to want to make my transition. I have mine set to 4 bars by default. I'm just going to switch to 8 over here, and let's see if this works. As you can see, this Sierra and Difa Baruch track, Goodies 2024, is going to come in right here at bar 17, and that looks like where the breakdown is. Let's check it again. Perfect transition every single time. Also, if you take a note, guys, what it's doing is it's also boosting up the tempo of the overall mix in the order we selected in the beginning in this tempo lane. If you ever want to make a change for this, you could always just set the tempo lane to manual and you could set it up manually. So for this one, maybe the Hugh Gell track at the beginning, I actually want to start at 122. So I'm just going to right click that point and select 122 and do the same here so that my first two tracks stay at 122 and we just get the bump of energy 2 tracks in. I think this will be great. And we'll continue on with the next transition. So I'm just going to hit Command forward and let's keep it moving. That was a 4-bar transition and it sounds great. So I'm going to move on to the next one. And you can see that this one actually is a little bit interesting. This song actually ends right here. It doesn't look like this has an outro, so I'm just going to swap this here. Make sure the transition window stops right there. And then this guy only has a 8-bar intro, so let's see how this works. And I just went through 4 tracks in a matter of, 2 minutes. You could see how easy this makes it. I couldn't imagine doing a radio show without DJ.Studio, and this makes it super, super easy for me to do these super fast. All right, so it looks like our mix is done over here, and we're around an hour and 5 minutes. What's up, everybody?
I wanna rock you.
All right, guys, so it looks like our mix is done after just a couple more minutes of fixing the transition windows. Super, super easy. And it looks like we hit our hour mark right here, maybe a little bit over an hour and 45 seconds, which is totally fine because that's going to give us some room to edit it down or do whatever we need to do. I like to give a little bit extra room. You definitely don't want to be too short because if you have an hour slot for a radio show, you want to make sure you have a little bit of extra time. This way, it's not too short, but it's just a little bit too long, and then you could fade it out wherever. But I think it's time to export my mix now and get it ready for radio. So I'm just going to hit to the export tab, and we have a couple options that we can do here. The first thing that I personally like to do is not use an MP3, and I like to use a WAV file. You have to remember your mix is going to be translated on the radio waves over the air, and you want to use the best quality that you can. WAV files are a significantly better quality than MP3, so we're going to use the WAV file here for our mix. The other thing that I like to do is using the limiter and make sure this is checked on, and that's going to prevent our audio from exceeding the 0 dB point. This way, if there's any sort of clipping or extra loudness that's happening between transitions, I'm going to reduce that to make sure that everything is going to stay under 0 dB. And I personally like to have my master gain at -2, just so that we have a little bit of headroom for the radio waves. And after that, I'm just going to hit export, and we are going to export our mix. And DJ.Studio has new technology now, which is going to record the mix even faster than some of your DAWs, and it's going to go super, super quick, write all of our automations together, and make our mix flawlessly. Let's let this export and see how our mix sounds. When I'm happy with the sequence and the transitions of my mix and everything's good to go, I can now go ahead and export my mix. If I was doing this mix live, then I would have to actually use the recording inside of my DJ software, or maybe plug my controller master out into some type of recorder or phone or another handheld type of device, and then have to record it and export it onto my computer from there. The best thing is, if I do have to make any changes, I won't have to go back, re-record anything in my DJ software, and then use an external DAW like Ableton or Logic to splice and make those changes. And it could get really complicated, especially with tempo changes. If I just had to make a change, all I have to do is just go back into the timeline, make that change, and just simply export another file, which is great. My mix is done, and it's exported, and let's see how it sounds. It's an hour and 59 minutes long, which is perfect. It's a little bit over an hour, which is completely okay. And I want to press play now and see how my mix sounds. Let's get ready for it. Here it comes. What's up, everybody? PURARI here, and today we have a brand new show right here on DJ.Studio Radio. I have brand new tracks from Hugel, Pitbull, and a lot more. Make sure you follow me on social media at PURARI DJ, and stay tuned for all the brand new updates I have for you guys as far as shows right here on DJ.Studio Radio. Let's go! Great. Let's see how my first transition sounds. It doesn't get much easier than that. What a flawless transition, and those will be repeated throughout the mix as long as you follow those steps. Following this process, you're going to get the quickest radio show possible with the least amount of time, the most professional transitions, and you will start sounding like the pros overnight. It's even come to the point where I don't even think about this process anymore, and I'm able to create radio shows in record time. If you regularly create radio shows for yourself or your weekly radio show or for other people, DJ.Studio is going to be your #1 stop to save you time and create the most professional mixes. With great track selection, planning, and now DJ.Studio handling all of the transitions for you, I think that you're well on your way to creating some professional mixes. I hope this tutorial helped you guys create professional radio mixes. Please feel free to share them with us at DJ.Studio_app on Instagram. And please share them with me at PURARI DJ on Instagram. I'd love to hear your guys' mixes, and best of luck creating your radio shows. Hope to see you guys soon in the next tutorial. Peace out.